Hello viewer, welcome to our today's lesson. I'm your lecturer, John Kabucho, taking you Advanced Auditing and Assurance. Today we are looking on the topic, Auditors Report on Financial Statements. This is the last topic maybe that's supposed to be covered under auditing or through what we refer to as audit stages. If you remember very well the stages of an audit, there are only 4. The last stage in auditing is referred to as Auditor's Report. That is when the auditor is reporting to the shareholders about the statement of affairs of the company. That's what we are looking at. Let's first of all highlight what we are going to be working on. We are looking on a topic known as Auditor's Report on Financial Statements. You may refer that to the financial statements or to the shareholders. To shareholders of an entity. Shareholders of an entity. That is our topic. This topic is divided into 2 main lessons. We have the first part covering the introduction. The introduction will involve, let me explain the part that we are going to be looking at. One will be issues relating to maybe the definition or the description of the auditor's report. But because the auditor's report is a legal requirement, is a requirement of the law, to be specific, the Companies Act, it is important we look about the legal requirements of the auditor's report. There. Then from there, we can also look about the elements of the auditor's report. Once we cover the elements of the auditor's report, we will be looking in our next lesson, lesson 2, other matters associated with the report, and one of them is what? The forms of opinion. Opinions that an auditor is supposed to be looking at. Rule number 2, we are going to be looking on the implications of the auditor's report on financial statements to the company. Implications of opinion to the auditor or to the company. And we can also look on other issues, for example, the features of a good report. Features of a good report. All this will be covered in our lesson 2. Lesson 1, therefore, will cover the introduction, which will cover the definition, legal requirements, elements of the auditor's report. That is what you need to know. Now, in this particular part of advanced auditing, the most important part for your part is this part, opinions. If you understand the opinions much better, then you can be able to do most of the, about 50 or 80% of the questions that are going to be brought in that particular region. Now, what I want to do here is to introduce that particular part again. This part is what we are looking at. Let's first of all ask ourselves, how did we come up with the auditor's report? This is where we started. We started with a small area called what? Planning. We planned the auditor's work. After planning the auditor's work, we went to another area, and we refer to this particular area as what? Gathering of evidence. Once we gather audit evidence or substantive stage, we came to another particular stage, and this one we refer to it as what? As final review. Stage number 1, stage number 2, and stage number 3 is called what? Final review or overall review. The last stage, which today we are looking at, is this one, reporting. The last stage in auditing, reporting. When an auditor has collected audit evidence and has done final review, he's supposed to come up with a report. That report is supposed to be issued or maybe to be addressed to the shareholders. And therefore, most of the time when we are talking about auditor's report, we say it is an end product of an audit. End product of an audit. If you want to give it a definition, you can go ahead and say that an auditor's report is a report of auditors to the shareholders of the company expressing an opinion on the financial statement. So we can also say it is a report of auditors addressed to the members of the company, you can also refer to them as shareholders, addressed to the members of the company, expressing an opinion on the financial statement, expressing an opinion on financial statements. You can end your definition there, or you can go ahead and say, on the financial statement state of affairs. That will also go ahead and work. But there is something that you need to note, which we refer here as the opinion. When an auditor is giving an opinion, we refer to that as a professional judgment. Professional judgment of an accountant on financial statement, of an auditor on financial statement, on financial statements. So if you are an auditor and you write a report, your report must contain a what? An opinion. The opinion is going to be expressing what is your personal judgment in relation to those financial statements. Once you go ahead and express that one, then you have given the opinion concerning the company's financial statement. This is what we call the introduction part. Some people call it a written expression of the auditor's opinion. For that, I believe I have done the definition part, and it's therefore important maybe to look on other particular terms that we need to go ahead and work out. So I'm going to delete this part here, and I'm going to introduce what we refer to as other matters associated with the definition. In that definition, there is one particular more terminology that you need to know concerning the auditor's report. And that terminology is this word, true and fair view. The Companies Act does not give us the real definition of that particular term. However, we need to know how we can define this particular term. The word true is used to mean that the financial statements are in accordance with the financial reporting framework, are in accordance with the financial reporting framework. If you examine the financial statements and you realize that those financial statements have been prepared in accordance with IFRS, Financial Reporting Standards, then you can go ahead and say, yes, those financial statements are true. When you use the word fair, this is what we mean. The word fair means that the financial statements have been prepared in accordance with the expectations of the user. So we say the word fair means in accordance with the expectations of the user. So if the financial statements are meeting your expectations, we say they are fair. If they are not meeting your expectations, we say they are not fair. And that's what we have in those particular definitions. So among the terminologies, what I wanted you to note is the definition of the word auditor's report. You say it is a report of the auditors on financial statement, expressing an opinion on those financial statements, whether they reflect true and fair view of the company's state of affairs. Another terminology I wanted you to understand is this term, opinion, which means it is a professional judgment or auditor's personal conclusion on the financial statements, whether they reflect true and fair view. Another term I wanted you to get clearly is the word true and fair. The word true means what? That the financial statements have been prepared in accordance with financial reporting standard, to be specific, international financial reporting standards. The word fair, on the other hand, means that the financial statements have been prepared in accordance with expectations of the user of the financial statements. Those are the terminologies that I wanted you to get. Now, having covered the terminologies and having covered those particular issues of definition, we move on to the next part, which we refer to it as legal framework of an auditor's report. The legal framework of an auditor's report. The legal framework, as the name suggests, we move to the statute. This time we go to the Companies Act. Even though we have different statutes, for example, the Banking Act talking about the auditor's report on the banks as companies, the main act that governs auditors is the Companies Act. If you check the Companies Act, and especially the Kenyan Companies Act, you'll find Section 728 and Section 730. They will give you the duties of an auditor. In those sections, you will find a subsection whereby it states that auditor's duty is to write a report. Duty to write a report. That is duty number one of an auditor. The duty number one of an auditor, according to the law, is to write a report. Then the duty number two, duty to state the following in the report. Duty to state the following in the report. Those matters that the auditor is supposed to report, one of them is, Roman 1, whether they have received all information and explanation considered necessary. Whether they have received all information and explanations considered necessary in forming an opinion. There. That is one of the matters that you're supposed to report. Can you tell us whether you received all the evidence and whether you received all the explanation? Roman 2, explain to the shareholders whether proper books of accounts have been kept. Whether proper books of accounts have been kept. So we need you to report to the shareholders as clear as possible whether proper books of accounts have been kept. The books of accounts prepared by the company should agree with financial records or financial statements. So you need to report that one. 3, whether the accounts are in agreement with financial statements, with financial statements, or you can use the word records. There. The item number 4 that you need to note is tell us whether proper accounting policies have been used in the preparation of the financial statement and they have been used consistently. Whether proper accounting policies have been used consistently in the preparation of the financial statement. You need also to go ahead and tell us, number 5, whether the financial statement are free from material misstatement or they're reflecting true and fair view.